If you're 62 with over $1 million saved for retirement, claiming Social Security early could potentially cost you over $400,000 in lifetime benefits and prevent you from fully enjoying the go-go years of retirement when you have the most health, energy, and resources. In this video, I'll be showing you how to spend freely now, grow your guaranteed income for later, and never have to choose between enjoying retirement today and protecting yourself from outliving your money. So let's get into it. Here is what almost every couple with a 7-figure portfolio gets backwards. They treat Social Security as the income they need to start collecting as soon as possible, and their portfolio as something to protect and preserve. But for someone in your position, those two tools have very specific jobs, and mixing them up is exactly what leads to the $400,000 mistake. Your portfolio was built for the go-go years, the first decade of retirement when you're healthy, energetic, and finally free to do everything you spent 30 years working toward. It is also the most expensive decade of retirement. Travel, experiences, time with family, the things you put off while you were building your career. That costs money, and your portfolio is perfectly designed to fund it. It's flexible, it's yours, and it's sitting there waiting to be used. Social Security was built for what comes after. When life naturally slows down, when your spending shifts from experiences to essentials, when you want the certainty of a guaranteed check arriving every month, no matter what the market does, that's when a maximized Social Security benefit becomes the most powerful financial asset you have. A benefit you've been allowed to grow to its full potential, adjusted for inflation every year for as long as you live. The couples who get this right never have to choose between living fully today and feeling secure tomorrow. They do both because they use the right tool at the right time. The most common reason couples give for claiming at 62 is the break-even calculation. Run the numbers, find the age where the late claimer catches up to the early claimer, and if you think you might not live that long, take the money now. It sounds logical. It even looks logical in a spreadsheet, but the calculation has 4 built-in assumptions that nobody mentions, and every single one of them overstates the case for claiming early. The first is the investment return buried in the math. To make the invested difference argument work, most of these analyses assume you'll earn 6, 7, sometimes 8% return on those early checks. But Social Security is a government-guaranteed, inflation-adjusted income stream that pays for as long as you live. The honest return for that kind of asset is closer to 2 to 3%, not 7%. Use a realistic number and the break-even age drops significantly, well within the life expectancy of a healthy couple in their early 60s. The second assumption is that taxes never get counted. Up to 85% of your Social Security benefit may be taxable, and if you're investing those early checks in a taxable account, the returns are taxable too. A 7% gross return for a couple in the 22 to 24% bracket is closer to 5% after tax. That gap alone meaningfully extends the real break-even, but it never shows up in the calculation. The third assumption is that the money actually gets invested and stays invested through a bear market without ever being touched. Research and actual retiree behavior says that's not what happens. Early Social Security income tends to get spent. If it gets consumed rather than compounded, the entire comparison collapses, and you're simply left with a smaller lifetime income stream. The fourth is that the break-even is a single life calculation. It runs the numbers on one person and stops when that person dies. For a married couple, that's only half the picture, and we'll come back to exactly why the other half matters so much in a few minutes. Here is the deeper problem with the entire break-even conversation. It treats Social Security like an investment you're evaluating for return on capital. But Social Security isn't an investment. It's insurance against outliving your money. Nobody calculates the break-even on their homeowner's insurance and concludes it was a bad decision because their house didn't burn down. The value of the larger benefit at 70 isn't into total dollar-pound. It's in the certainty of that income arriving every month no matter how long you live, no matter what the market does, and no matter what your portfolio looks like when you're 87 years old. So the break-even calculation has one more fundamental problem that doesn't get talked about enough. It optimizes for the average outcome. And your retirement is not average. A healthy, college-educated professional in their early 60s with good healthcare access doesn't have the same life expectancy as the American in the actuarial tables. Those tables include everyone. For a married couple where both spouses are healthy at 62, there is a roughly a 50% chance that at least one of them reaches their early 90s. That's not a scary outlier scenario. That's a coin flip. Picture what that means practically. You and your spouse are probably planning a retirement with travel, with time for the things you've been putting off for 30 years, with the freedom that a well-built portfolio is supposed to buy. That first decade, the go-go years, is what most people are thinking about when they make the claiming decision. And that's exactly the problem. Because the decision you make at 62 doesn't just affect those first 10 years. It affects every year after that too, including the ones where travel slows down, healthcare costs pick up, and the portfolio has been working hard for over 2 decades. The stakes of getting this wrong are not equal on both sides. If you claim at 62 and die at 74, you left some money on the table, but you're not around to feel it. If you claim at 62 and live to 91, you spend 3 decades with a benefit that's permanently reduced by thousands of dollars per year. I had a client call me after her husband died. She was 71, living on a single reduced Social Security check because they had both claimed early. And that check had to last her 20 more years. There was nothing we could do to change it. That's not a number on a spreadsheet. That is someone's actual life. Most car trips don't end in a crash. But you're sure glad you have a seatbelt when it does happen. The largest Social Security benefit at 70 works exactly the same way. So if waiting until 70 is so clearly better for a couple in your position, why does almost nobody do it? Researchers at Boston College found that the majority of people who claim early are lower earners who genuinely needed that check to cover their basic expenses. And separately, that a single scary newspaper headline about trust fund depletion was enough to move people's claiming age by up to a full year. For most people, this decision is being made under financial pressure or emotional anxiety, not careful analysis. If you have a 7-figure portfolio and a plan, you have something most people making decisions simply don't have: the ability to choose based on the math rather than the moment. Using national claiming statistics to guide a decision for a couple with $1 million saved is like using national car purchase statistics to decide whether to buy a used Civic or a Mercedes. The data is accurate. It just isn't describing your situation. So what does the right strategy actually look like for a couple in your position? It starts with one principle. The two of you are not making the same decision. You are making 2 separate, coordinated decisions that are designed around each other. The lower earner claims at full retirement age, not 62. For a couple with a 7-figure portfolio, there is no compelling reason to claim at 62 for either spouse. Waiting from 62 to full retirement age increases the lower earner's benefit by roughly 25 to 30%, and that matters because the benefit doesn't disappear when the higher earner dies. It may become the sole household Social Security income for years, possibly decades. For a couple managing $1 million portfolio, the lower earner's benefit is not a secondary consideration. It's part of the same income architecture you're building for the next 30 years. The higher earner waits until 70. A higher earner with a $2,500 monthly benefit at 62 would collect roughly $4,400 at 70. That $1,900 monthly difference is permanent, inflation adjusted, and becomes the surviving spouse's sole Social Security income if the higher earner dies first. If your spouse outlives you by 15 years, which is well within the range of probability for a healthy couple, that difference compounds across 180 monthly checks. The claiming decision you make today is still shaping your spouse's financial life in their mid-80s. There is also a trap that almost never gets mentioned. If the higher earner is still working before the full retirement age and claims early, the earnings test claws back $1 for every $2 earned above roughly $22,000 a year. A higher earner still pulling $150,000 a year would have virtually their entire benefit withheld by locking in a permanently reduced lifetime amount. You would be triggering the clock on a lower benefit while collecting almost nothing in the near term. In the years between retirement and 70, your portfolio funds your lifestyle, the travel, the experiences, the go-go years you've earned. Security benefit arrives as your guaranteed income floor for everything that follows. That's not sacrifice. That is the plan working exactly the way it should. So let me bring this back to where we started. You have spent decades building a portfolio that was supposed to buy you freedom in retirement, the freedom to travel, to spend time with the people you love, to live the life you actually planned for. The Social Security claiming decision is the one choice that can quietly take the freedom away, not in the first year or even the fifth, but 15 years from now, when the portfolio is smaller, your options are fewer, and a decision you made at 62 is still following you everywhere you go. The couples who get this right understand that they have two powerful tools, and each one has a job. Your portfolio funds the life you want now. Your maximized Social Security benefit funds the security you need later. When you use them in the right order, you never have to choose between living fully today and feeling protected tomorrow. That is not a compromise. That is what $1 million retirement is actually supposed to look like. If you want to see this exactly, how it would work for your specific situation, your ages, benefit amounts, your portfolio, and your tax picture, that is the conversation we have in a retirement transition blueprint. The link to schedule is below. And if this video raised questions about how your Roth conversion decisions in the bridge years interact with your Medicare premiums, that video is coming out next, because that piece of the puzzle is one most couples never see coming. I hope this was helpful. Please like and subscribe to get notifications of the future videos, and I'll see you in the next one.